Hello, Meg here for I Teach Stamping, and welcome to today's video tutorial. Today we're going to be making an all-occasion kind of card, and we're going to use lots of different supplies. So this is what I would call a stash card. Like literally, I dug into my stash to see what I had laying around to try to come up with a card. If you've never tried it, definitely give it a whirl. So let's go ahead and dive in with this card. I'm going to start with my paper piercing, which is not the way I normally ever start a card. That's normally one of the finishing touches that I do. But I'm going to be using the Essentials Matte Pack, my paper piercer, and then something so that I'm not ruining the surface of my countertop, because then I'd be sad and cry. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm cheating, kind of. I'm looking for reference points. I'm taking a piece of Marina Mist cardstock that's 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and I'm lining up this dark black line just to the edge of my cardstock. Then I want to make sure it's kind of centered from left to right by looking at the dots up here and the dots on the other edge of the blue. Once I have this in place, I'm just going to go through and on the bottom row of dots, go through and do my paper piercing. So this is going to give me the breaking point of my card, like where in the card I want, how far up on the card, I should say, I want my stamping to go. And it's also going to give me a reference point for where I want my sentiment to go. So it's kind of, it's decorative and a template all at the same time. So we're just going to go through and get these last ones done. There we go. And then we are ready to do our stamping. So our card's going to go this way. I'm going to start with my sentiment. So remember I said this was like from my stash. This is a sentiment that's from a paper pumpkin kit from Stampin' Up, which is a monthly kit that you can sign up for. And I have very publicly said when it first started it wasn't that great. And now it's awesome. I love it. So I'll put the link up on the screen so that you can see where you can get in on that action. All right, so I'm going to stamp that sentiment. And then from another paper pumpkin kit, so this is another month, it's just a little dot. That's all it is a little dot. And I'm going to go over to Marina Mist ink. And I'm just going to stamp this going up to that line, but not going above it. Just a random pattern. This good and stamped all over. Okay, so we have that, and now we are ready. Let's see here. I'm done with this one. We are ready to do some more stamping. So I'm going to bring in, this one is from the Pictogram Punches stamp set from Stampin' Up. And I've made my imaging sheet for my Stamp-A-Majig ahead of time, and I'll post a link to where you can learn how to do that at the top there. So I'm just going to go through with the broad end of my marker, and I'm using Wild Wasabi. And anytime you're using your markers on your stamp, don't worry about being in a hurry. Seriously, take your time. If it dries completely, not a problem. Just going to go through and get that Marina Mist on there. Notice I'm not using the tip. I'm using the side of it. Then I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock and I'm going to get my imaging sheet where I want it on here. So I had just stamped this on here ahead of time. Moved it. Use the T of this. Then I'm going to give it what I call the breath of life. Some people call it huffing, and I think that just sounds illegal. So what you do is just warm, moist air from your mouth is going to re-moisten that ink on that stamp. That's why I said you don't have to be in a hurry. And there we have our fabulous little vase. Then on an extra piece of cardstock, I'm going to take the little flower, and this is from the same Pictogram Punches stamp set. And this little flower has a coordinating punch. So you can get all 3 of those stamped in real red, and then let them dry for just a second or two, and then go ahead and punch them out. I did that ahead of time just for the sake of time, and then I use half a dimensional on the back. So on my dimensionals, I normally will cut strips on one end so that I can grab just a half one, and then we're done. Okay, so now we're ready to assemble this card. So I'm going to work from the bottom up. I'm going to start with my card base, and this is the thick Whisper White. That's going to be 5.5 by 8.5 scored at 4 1/4. And on top of that, I'm going to add my cute little sentiment layer with the polka dots. I love polka dots. Then we're going to take a piece of Wild Wasabi. Just going to add some adhesive to it. We're going to add our flower layer on top, so it's intentionally overhanging the edges. And then, if you're new to fast fuse, you want to do it with a light touch. You don't want to press down super hard when you're applying it. And the only thing I need to do now is get it centered really between my words and the edge there. There we go. And like I told you, I had punched out these guys and put dimensionals on ahead of time. So now all I have to do is peel these off. Get these onto the card. One finishing touch, and I used the cotton Real Red ribbon and just tied it in a bow. If you struggle at all with bows, make sure to grab the 10-second bow maker. Literally, you can tie bows in 10 seconds. So I'm going to take this. Just going to drop it in place down like so. Oh, I think I said that was the finishing touch. At least I might have, but I really didn't mean it. I used the clear stamp cases to hold my rhinestones. Just going to pull this out, grab my paper piercer, and I'm going for the small size of the rhinestones. We're just going to drop one of these into the center of each little flower. And just like that, we are done. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make this card. Literally, the white was scraps, the wild wasabi was scraps, the bow I had tied and just like laying around, I hadn't used it on a project. Okay, so the rhinestones weren't a scrap, you got me there. But the white was, and so was the blue. And then I just grabbed some random stamp sets to make a card. If you liked today's video tutorial, please be sure to like it below. Also be sure to share it with your friends. Head on over to iteachstamping.com. Make sure you are signed up for my mailing list so you don't miss any of my exclusive projects that I only share with people on my mailing list. Thanks again for watching. Again, I'm Meg from I Teach Stamping, and have a great day.